Picture this. You're lying in bed trying to sleep, but your mind is racing. You start worrying about things that might happen tomorrow, next week, or even next year. Why does this happen? Why do our brains seem to love creating anxiety? Stick around, because today, we're diving deep into the science of worry and uncovering why our brains are wired this way and what we can do about it. 1. The evolutionary origins of worry. To understand why we worry, we need to take a trip back in time, way back to when our ancestors were living in caves and constantly on the lookout for predators. Anxiety and worry were essential survival tools back then. Imagine you're an early human and you hear a rustle in the bushes. Is it just the wind, or is it a hungry predator? Your brain quickly jumps to the worst case scenario because assuming the worst could mean the difference between life and death. This is what scientists call the fight or flight response, a reaction that prepares your body to either confront a threat or run away from it. Back then, this response was triggered by immediate physical dangers. But here's the thing. Our brains haven't really caught up to modern life. We still have the same fight or flight response, but now it's triggered by things like deadlines, social interactions, or even worrying about the future. Our brains are wired to scan for threats, and when they can't find any immediate ones, they start to create them. That's where anxiety comes in. It's like your brain is constantly on the lookout for something to worry about, even when there's no real danger. Understanding this evolutionary background is the first step in recognizing why we get anxious. 2. How our brains process worry. Now that we know why our brains are wired to worry, let's talk about what actually happens in your brain when you start to feel anxious. The key player here is a small almond-shaped structure in your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is like your brain's alarm system. When it senses danger, real or imagined, it sends out a distress signal that sets off the fight or flight response. Here's how it works. The amygdala sends a signal to another part of your brain called the hypothalamus, which then triggers the release of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones are what make your heart race, your palms sweat, and your muscles tense up. They're preparing your body to either fight off a threat or run away from it. But here's the catch, your amygdala doesn't always get it right. Sometimes it overreacts to situations that aren't really dangerous, like giving a presentation at work or meeting new people. Your brain is just trying to protect you, but in doing so, it can create a lot of unnecessary anxiety. So why do we keep worrying even when we know there's no real danger? This is where the prefrontal cortex comes in. The prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that's responsible for higher level thinking, like reasoning and decision making. It's supposed to help you assess whether the threat is real, and if not, calm your amygdala down. But when you're stressed, tired, or overwhelmed, your prefrontal cortex doesn't work as effectively. It's like the logical part of your brain is taking a back seat, letting the amygdala run the show. That's why it can be so hard to stop worrying once you start. It's a battle between your emotional and rational brains. 3. The role of neurotransmitters in anxiety. Let's dive a bit deeper and talk about the chemicals in your brain that play a role in anxiety, specifically neurotransmitters. These are the brain's chemical messengers, and two of the most important ones when it comes to anxiety are serotonin and GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. Serotonin is often called the feel-good neurotransmitter because it helps regulate mood, sleep, and appetite. Low levels of serotonin are linked to anxiety and depression. When your serotonin levels are low, it can make you feel more anxious, irritable, and less able to cope with stress. GABA, on the other hand, is like the brain's natural tranquilizer. It inhibits or slows down brain activity, helping you feel calm and relaxed. If you don't have enough GABA, your brain can become overstimulated, leading to feelings of anxiety and panic. Think of serotonin and GABA as the brakes on your brain's anxiety response. When they're working well, they help keep your anxiety in check. But if they're out of balance, your brain's alarm system can go haywire, leading to constant worry and stress. There are many factors that can affect your levels of serotonin and GABA, including genetics, diet, exercise, and even your thoughts. That's why lifestyle changes, like eating a balanced diet, getting regular exercise, and practicing relaxation techniques, can have such a big impact on anxiety. They help keep these neurotransmitters in balance, making it easier for your brain to regulate anxiety. 4. Why our brains are hardwired to focus on the negative. You've probably noticed that it's much easier to focus on the negative than the positive, especially when you're feeling anxious. But why is that? Why does our brain seem to latch onto negative thoughts so much more readily? This goes back to our evolutionary history. Our ancestors needed to be hyper-aware of potential dangers in their environment to survive. It was more important to remember the one time they encountered a predator than the many times they didn't. This survival mechanism is known as negativity bias. Negativity bias means that our brains are more likely to notice, remember, and dwell on negative experiences and thoughts. When you're anxious, this bias becomes even stronger, making it feel like everything is going wrong, even when that's not the case. But there's a silver lining here. Just as your brain is wired to focus on the negative, it can also be trained to focus on the positive. This is where practices like mindfulness and gratitude come into play. Mindfulness is about staying present and observing your thoughts without judgment. When you're mindful, you're able to catch those negative thoughts as they arise and choose not to get caught up in them. It's like stepping back from your thoughts and seeing them for what they are, just thoughts, not reality. Gratitude, on the other hand, is about actively focusing on the positive. When you practice gratitude, you're training your brain to look for the good in your life, even in small things. Over time, this can help counteract negativity bias and reduce anxiety. 5. Breaking the cycle of chronic worry. Now that we understand why our brains create anxiety, the big question is, what can we do about it? How do we break the cycle of chronic worry? First, it's important to recognize that anxiety isn't something you can just turn off. It's a natural part of being human, and in small doses it can even be helpful. The goal isn't to eliminate anxiety completely, but to manage it in a way that it doesn't take over your life. One effective way to manage anxiety is through cognitive behavioral techniques. These involve identifying and challenging the negative thoughts that fuel your anxiety. For example, if you're worried about an upcoming event, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? How likely is that really? What would I do if it did happen? Often, just asking these questions can help you see that your worries are exaggerated or unrealistic. Another powerful tool is progressive muscle relaxation. This involves tensing and then slowly relaxing different muscle groups in your body, starting from your toes and working your way up to your head. This technique not only helps release physical tension, but also signals to your brain that it's safe to relax. Breathing exercises are also incredibly effective. When you're anxious, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid, which can make anxiety worse. Taking slow, deep breaths helps calm your nervous system and reduce the physical symptoms of anxiety. Finally, don't underestimate the power of social support. Talking to someone you trust about your worries can provide perspective and help you feel less alone. Sometimes just knowing that someone else understands what you're going through can make a huge difference. So there you have it. 4 simple, powerful techniques to reset your mind and conquer anxiety in just 5 minutes. Remember, managing anxiety isn't about eliminating it completely. It's about finding ways to handle it effectively so you can live your life to the fullest. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with anyone who could use a quick anxiety reset. And as always, take care of yourself. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.